It's baked. I got home
Good.
and it was so frozen that when I tried to poke holes in it with the fork, cracked right through.
Well, you're better than me. I haven't pie crusted because, all right. Thank you, Lulu, for making. I've made quiche quite a few times, but the thing that's always seems hard for me is the crust. So I always just bought one. But what I like about, well, you have pointed out what I like about quiche is all the little bits and leftovers that you have. You
Yeah,
throw them together and you add some eggs and you got yourself a quiche.
right. And
Wow.
technically, the only thing you really need for a quiche is the pastry bottom and milk and eggs. The cheese is not necessary, but to me, a quiche always has cheese in it because I love cheese.
And because I tend to be gluten-free, I'm doing the newfangled version, the crustless quiche, which is not really a quiche. I mean,
Right.
but I tend to do that more often. And what I actually tend to do, we can talk later, is when I have a lot of eggs, I tend to make cupcake size quiches.
Nice.
And then I can make each one slightly different. I could make like a dozen of this flavor and a dozen of that flavor. And then I freeze them. And then, you know.
You freeze them cooked though, right?
Correct.
Yeah. And then
Yeah. I cook them slightly overcooked. I find that it, freezes better with a little less moisture in it.
Yeah.
Especially when I get a lot of fresh eggs in the spring that just got laid. So I buy, I don't know, local organic eggs, and they're always in a cardboard carton. And I in the past found if I put a cardboard carton in my fridge, it starts to sucks up moisture or something. I don't know. It gets funky in the fridge slightly. So I like this plastic one. So someone gave me that. So, all right. We ready to start cooking?
Sure. So, who else? So, Maureen, you're cooking as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so you already blind baked your crust?
Yes.
Okay. And don't worry, plenty of time.
Oh, crack.
That's fine.
I mean, that's the whole point of putting stuff on top of it, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I guess I never do like a pie where you put the thing on the top because I always tend to crack it. So
basically, Maureen, what's going to happen is the juices are going to go underneath your crust, and it may be a little bit more difficult to get it out of the tin, but that happens. I tried something new and I used a frozen pie crust that was rolled up, so it had to thaw and roll it out. And in the process of rolling out, it cracked. And so, but because it was raw, I was able to pinch it all together. Let me show you my crust. And I blind baked mine with parchment.
what does it mean, blind bake?
Means empty.
Okay.
Blind bake is, and oftentimes all you need to do is to prick holes in the bottom. What I put a parchment paper in mine, and then I filled it with beans. So where the beans didn't go, you can see it's really browned. And this is not quite flaky as I would have normally had it.
Now, did you buy like a pre-made crust, or did you actually?
So my crust was frozen. It was
but it wasn't.
So I have some of this phyllo dough that I was going to get rid of, and it's essentially thin pastry.
Now that's an entirely different show. That would be our spanakopita, but you can go ahead and if I were you, I would not blind bake that. I would just go ahead and personally for spanakopita or my broccoli spinach pie, I do 10 to 12 layers on the bottom, and in between each layer, I'm brushing either melted butter or olive oil. It just makes it flake up, but you're going to want more than you know, I would put at least 5 or 6 sheets if you could. But this is what I bought, and it comes in, it's frozen. And this is hard, but you let it thaw, and then you put it over your pan. This is a larger pan. I've not used one this big. This is a 9.5 inch. And I also have a really cute one.
So do you grease the pan?
No.
So I guess, yeah, I mean,
Mine feels kind of stuck, but that's okay.
your pre-made pie crust has like a little bit of flour powder on it, right?
Yeah, and it should have a certain amount of butter. This is a smaller one. I might do the quiches or the crustless in this one. This is a lot less in volume.
Now, do you tend to always do the round ones? When I cook a lot, I always do like actual, you know, the 9 by 12. Are they 9 by 12? You know, the cake pans.
Well, why don't you do the cake pan with your phyllo? Oh, you already got it started.
No, that's a good idea because it's square.
It's square. I would definitely do that. But do you have any olive oil or melted butter? I would slap some of that on in between each layer personally.
I'll just go ahead and.
But you need to start cooking up your vegetables too. Now, Maureen, do you have any vegetables already cooked up?
Yes.
Okay, what do you have as far as?
I have mushrooms, cauliflower, red pepper, onions, zucchini, and that's it, I think.
Yeah. So they're already all cooked up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. And I have ham and cheese.
Okay, cool.
Wait a second. You guys have everything cooked ahead of time?
That's what the instructions were.
See?
Otherwise, this is going to take like 45 minutes to bake.
Okay,
And
I'll catch up because I thought the point of our cooking show is we cook together, but I'll catch up here.
But this was sort of like your leftover stuff. So I have about 2 cups. Mine is spinach, broccoli, mushroom, and scallions. You really can do it kind of. I always have some sort of onion, and usually a lot of it. So
what is something you wouldn't put into it?
So you don't want to put tomato in just yet because tomato's too wet.
Okay. And how about, do you always do a savory one?
That's what quiche is.
My quiches are savory.
Yeah, you mean
I
a
think
quiche?
the definition of quiche, you forgot to add the part that says it's savory, right?
Yeah, I always think of quiche as savory.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's a pie.
Yeah, I agree, Lulu.
Okay.
Right. You put fruit in there, it's a pie.
Right?
Do you remember the book Real Men Don't Eat Quiche?
I do, but I don't know what it was about.
I had it, I think. This was like in the late 80s.
I think because it was thought of as Frenchified.
Yeah, well, and it was like
People were against the French.
for men that want to have steak, you know, and big hunks of meat, and quiche was considered kind of femmy or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't manly.
Quiche Lorraine was the big one that everybody had.
It'll only take me about 10 minutes to get a bunch of those.
But
All right.
what I would start with, or is your onion, just your onion and your red pepper. And before you put that into your phyllo, you'll probably end up, because it needs to be cool before you put it in the egg mixture.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to cook the eggs.
Because if you put it in hot, we'll just cook the eggs.
Right.
But that's why I have made my quiche with leftover dinner salad.
So a question, why do you have to cook it up ahead of time? If it's stuff you could eat, like, you know, if it's onions and sweet peppers you could eat as a salad.
oven, it might not cook. Like I have made quiche before, but I never have cooked the vegetables ahead of time. So that's why probably I didn't like my own quiche very much
Yeah,
because
because
the
the
onions
eggs will
were
cook
raw, or
faster
the
than the
broccoli
vegetables.
wasn't all cooked, or
That's right.
you
And that's
know.
what I was saying. If you could do a quiche where you just put stuff in that's
So another thing that happens if you put raw vegetables in, let's say mushrooms, they give off so much moisture, it kind of counteracts the,
It's soggy.
yeah, the cooking of the
Yeah.
egg.
Oh, I never thought about squeezing any moisture out of this.
So-
I don't
so I
think
was-
they're too.
I got.
I was
You
gonna
guys know what this is?
rosemary.
Rosemary?
I picked a whole bunch of rosemary recently, and I absolutely love it.
And go light on that though, because
Oh, yeah,
that's
it's
a
strong.
real strong flavor. So I would just do a couple of little and break it up real small. Maureen, you may want to take your vegetables and put them in like a strainer. Let me show you what I do.
Do you actually drain off the moisture?
Yeah, and then I throw that in the freezer. But I have like a real fine mesh and I put it over a bowl and I literally squeeze out as much as the moisture, whether it's from the spinach. And that's another reason why I like to at least wilt my spinach to get some of the moisture out of it.
So is there any other vegetables besides tomatoes you said that we shouldn't put in? I mean, obviously something that's really strong flavored.
I can't think of anything. Carrots, if you did carrots, I would definitely cook them down so they're not rock hard. But I've never done like a carrot one. I've been thinking I want to try a new one where I use cheddar cheese and zucchini and corn. That sounds fun.
So my local bakery is famous for their quiches, and they make a different one each week. And I recently bought a turkey pot pie one.
Nice.
So it had turkey, potatoes, carrots, and peas in it. And so
That doesn't sound like a quiche. Were there lots of eggs?
oh yeah, it was like, just a little bit of that stuff and
And mostly egg.
80% eggs or something,
So basically the quiche is milk or cream with egg, and then whatever floats your boat. You can, I was thinking you probably could make a dairy-free one by substituting a different liquid. Now, I don't know if you
Or
can make,
not a dairy free because eggs are dairy, but a
no,
lactose
eggs
free.
are not dairy. Eggs are not dairy. Dairy is cow or sheep. It's
Oh, really?
milk, butter, cheese. Eggs are
Yeah,
not
those
dairy.
are lactose based, but a lot of people consider.
Dairy is milk, cheese, butter. That's dairy. Eggs happen to be
Yogurt, kefir.
Yeah. So you said
Yogurt.
not to put when do you put tomatoes in it?
You can put those on the top,
Okay.
just as thin slices on the top. If you did use them, I would be more inclined to seed and skin them personally, but oh, and you guys might want to, well, it depends upon how soon we're putting in the oven. You might want to preheat your oven.
All right.
Is that on? Oh yeah, there you go.
All right. Now do you ever just like get, actual leftovers, not like veggie stir fry, but like rice or beans or
I've
chili?
not ever made a quiche with rice or beans.
Just like basically, any leftovers. So like most of these vegetables are just, getting right to the verge of, you're like, oh, I need to maybe not toss them out, but they have to be used in the next few days, not in like a salad because they're starting to get a little rough.
And I would recommend cooking down your peppers because they're mostly water as well.
Okay.
Those
All right, so go ahead and start making your thing without waiting for me, I guess, because I'm gonna be Probably a few minutes behind you.
All right.
At least probably 20 minutes, probably, right?
So
But
determining how much is in your quiche, mine's a little bit larger, so I'm going to be using bigger proportions than, let's say, Maureen, that you would use, or what I put in this smaller one, because this holds about a quart of liquid without the crust. This holds about a quart and a half, because I literally measured them. So, and if you have the smaller one, Maureen, I would go with about 4 ounces of cheese, which is, what kind of cheese are you using, Maureen? Have you decided?
It's just a cheddar that's sort of mixed marble cheddar.
Okay.
we call that Colby Jack, don't we? US?
So I would probably go with about a cup of it. One of the things about when you pour your quiche in, don't overfill it. It serves no purpose. Do not overfill it. Have leftovers and maybe throw them into something like a little ramekin or what have you.
How much does it tend to, well, I guess it matters how much dairy you add to it, right? How fluffy it gets?
Well, if you're doing a quiche, if you're doing a crustless, you'll end up adding a little bit of flour or a flour substitute like almond flour, and then a little bit of baking powder, and it does make it fluff up.
So you put baking powder in yours, so yours really fluffs up.
That's if I'm making it crustless.
Yeah, anytime I always did it, I don't, because when I make it, if I'm making eggs, I'm making it for like, 50, 100 people.
Holy cow.
I just tend to use just regular eggs and not add much to it. I might add water to fluff it up. Just because it's cheaper when you're making a lot for a lot of people.
All right, so let me grab my bowl.
So far I've put onions, garlic, green, orange, and red peppers. The green are these poblanos, because I like poblanos much more than I like bell pepper. I don't know what it is about bells. The flavor, I don't like that much.
Are you putting poblano peppers in, or?
I am.
Those are hot, aren't they?
Nah, they're mild.
Mildly hot, yes.
Yeah, they're real mild.
Slightly more than a green bell pepper, but it has a different flavor.
Mhm.
So.
Okay, so I have an egg that I just needed some egg wash. So I'm gonna put 4 eggs into my bowl. The leftover one I had in the fridge.
So do you ever put like fresh ingredients right before you bake it? Like you said, tomatoes. How about garlic or herbs?
Yeah, what I'll be adding to the mixture, the cooked vegetables, I'll also put in parsley. I've got 2 tablespoons of parsley. So we're gonna do the 4 eggs. Wow. This really cool pasture raised. I gotta show you the color difference of the 2 eggs. Can you see? See how light yellow?
One's yellow, one's orange.
I know. Guess which one's the orange one? It's the really yummy pasture raised.
It's the one they fed the chickens carrots.
You think?
Carrots?
Yeah, that's the color.
Or in Mexico, they feed them marigolds.
To get them to-
But no, naturally that's how it's supposed to be. But yeah, they actually feed the chickens.
I thought all free range eggs are brighter yolks.
They are, yeah.
Yeah.
But
These are huge. All right, so I got my 4 eggs in.
like you're making 2 pans, and I'm gonna make. So I guess I'll go ahead and do all of these because
Yeah, get your heat up on those vegetables so you can really get those sauteed.
That's as high as it goes.
Or think about your ratio though. You're gonna need
Doesn't work.
quite a bit of cheese if you're using that much. Me personally would like more cheese in it. So go
So
ahead.
I've got, let's see, I've got 3 types of cheese. I've got cheddar, I've got mozzarella, and I've got Parmesan.
So
But
go
you really
ahead.
want the melting cheese, right? You don't really want Parmesan.
Parmesan, I'm gonna just sprinkle on the top of it. So
Okay.
whip up your eggs real good.
Whip it good. I probably shouldn't do that reference because I know it's from a song, but I don't know what it, probably something nasty.
No, it's Devo. It's just a 80s.
Yeah, it's all whip it.
Okay. Now, I put salt in at this point because it has been my experience that I like it a little saltier than the average. It brings out a lot of the flavor. So I'm putting at this point a half a teaspoon of salt in there. You may not want to put that much if you're on need to be on a low sodium diet.
And maybe if you're using feta, that feta seems kind of salty to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tons of salt in feta.
Yeah.
Tons of salt, yeah.
But it's been my experience, even with feta, when I have that much, let's say spinach and broccoli.
Let's see, when I cooked with someone doing feta cheese, they actually wash the salt they wash the cheese before we cook it.
I wash the brick before I rinse it, but I don't rinse like crumbled feta.
No. When
Okay,
you get a big brick, because it's stored in salt water. Oh,
so I have a 2-cup measure. And to this, I'm gonna put a cup of milk. And then you're supposed to have 3/4 cups of cream, like whipping cream. I don't have whipping cream. I'm just gonna use half and half.
So I bought a thing of
My
cream,
God.
but I put it in the back of my fridge, and apparently the fridge is not working very good because it froze it. I got a thing of cream and it's kind of frozen.
Now,
Now,
Now, how necessary do you feel it is to put dairy in it?
I think it's what makes it fluff and stuff. Yeah, I might use a little less, Maureen, if your pie crust is a little smaller.
I mean, a custard is
Pardon me?
basically eggs and milk, right?
Yeah.
So
Basically.
it's kind of hard to make it without having milk in it and eggs. I guess you could use some other kind of,
How about coconut milk?
Well,
I don't know.
that would
tastes like coconut, I think.
Well, then
Yeah, I
you
don't know.
probably do.
All right, I'm just trying different options here. So how much?
So
So
Lulu, you're mixing milk and cream? Half and half?
half and half. They were out of heavy whipping cream. So
I mean, the nice thing about this is there is a lot of forgiveness to the recipe. I mean, quite literally,
yeah,
you could
make,
literally just do
you can go all
fried up
cream.
anything with some eggs, right?
Yeah, you could go all cream or all milk or half milk, half cream.
Yeah, and if
Depending on
you're
your,
trying to make it a little less fat, but
Yeah.
I like things really rich.
And I mean, we grew up, we had our own eggs, but we didn't have a lot of good refrigeration, so we didn't have much dairy. So when we
this is
made scrambled eggs, we tend
Well,
to
you could
just put
make this
water in
with
it.
powdered milk, I guess.
And
you
then
could if that's all you had, yeah. You didn't have
If
any
you're
regular
using-
milk.
if you're using moisture like zucchini or even the tomatoes, you can use less moisture in the egg mixture. So The more liquid you have, the more milk and what have you, it just has to cook longer in order for it to set, because it really needs to set. There's no rush in that part of it. So in here, I would go ahead and add what flavoring you want. So, or you've got the rosemary. You can add an additional maybe onion powder to this. I'm going to add about a tablespoon of dill because I like that flavor.
Oh, you think it's a big deal, huh?
Some people don't like dill, so obviously you wouldn't use it. But without any real strong herbs, it's going to taste more bland, like egg and milk with whatever vegetables you have. On my quiche, I'm going to crumble bacon on the bottom of mine just for something different. And I'm using Swiss cheese.
What did you say you were going to crumble?
Bacon on the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean,
So maybe
sounds like you're
dill,
putting-
onion powder, rosemary, anything else?
I wouldn't personally use rosemary for my taste.
You
Just-
wouldn't. Mhm.
For me, it's a very strong flavor, and the egg for me is very light and delicate. But if you like rosemary, by all means use, some rosemary. I would break it up kind of small. You can maybe, if you wanted to do, like if you got cheddar going, you can use maybe a chili powder if you want that kind of flavoring. This is where you can get real creative and put flavors that you like.
So when I make like what I call a crustless quiche, it's basically a pan of eggs. I just mix everything in the eggs together and then pour it into a greased pan.
Yeah.
Do you put it in a different?
So if I make a crustless, if I have enough insides to make another one, and I'll make it crustless, I'll put butter or shortening on this and flour it just so it helps it not stick.
Okay.
I'm putting a couple tablespoons of just fresh parsley in here.
Ooh.
You can also use fresh scallions at this point for additional flavor. I actually cooked up my scallions. Let me get my dill. I thought I pulled it out.
Part of it is you want to try to create a balance of flavor without any one flavor being overpowering, or are you trying to?
Well, I just find if you don't put dill or rosemary or something in there, there's not a lot of flavor to it. It just tastes like egg and the vegetables, so it could be pretty mild. Add black pepper. White pepper's good to add at this point. So I'm probably not going to add quite a tablespoon, just a little less.
A tablespoon, that's a lot of pepper.
No, that's my dill.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I'll probably put in about at least a quarter. Between white and black pepper, I probably will use both. I might put as much as a half a teaspoon. But I'm a big kind of.
Until recently, I never really did white pepper. What do you think that is? Advantage of that is?
It's a different flavor entirely.
Like,
You should always use white pepper and mashed potato so it doesn't show.
Well, that's what here, but it really is a distinct flavor. It's not the same as.
Yeah. That's true.
how about caraway seeds?
Oh, I just made one. I fried up, sauteed at least 3 large onions. So you know how that cooks down? And I used about a tablespoon of caraway. I made that crustless. So I ended up adding about, a couple tablespoons of flour. Oh, actually, I made it with the almond flour. I had you in mind, or when I was doing it. I added a couple of tablespoons of almond flour, and then a quarter teaspoon of baking powder. And that was really good. Now you have to like caraway. If you don't like rye bread or that flavor, for sure you're not going to like it. But I loved it. And it was, and I also threw in mushrooms. Mushrooms seem really good with eggs. Okay, let me look at my recipe so I don't forget anything. Oh, at this point, you can add a little lemon juice. And that's always good. Lemons can be like in my opinion, somewhat of a salt substitute or enhancer as far as flavor
When you
goes.
say a little, how much do you think for your
Um,
4 eggs?
For my 4 eggs, I would probably add a tablespoon.
So it's not, it's substantial amount then.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never
How
never
much
used
did you say?
a tablespoon.
But
Oh.
see, you have to like that flavor. So
I've never
I've
used
only
put
got this
lemon
thing.
juice in, so that's new.
it's gonna be a distinctive flavor. So
Yeah, I've never put lemon juice in quiche.
it's really good.
So this is a taste experience.
Yeah, and it might be something that it pairs well with like a feta and the dill, the lemon. Let's see. So you put your parsley in there, your salt, your pepper, a little bit of lemon juice. At this point, I'm gonna put my cheese in there. And because my pie crust is a little bigger and I'm okay to have a little leftover because I can make the crust. I have about 3/4 of a cup.
On your vegetables, do you tend to caramelize them very well? I do.
I would for the quiche and then put them over.
I like having as much moisture out of them as possible.
Yeah, so I would cook
Because
them up.
it's shortened. I feel like it shortens the cooking time in the oven.
Plus you want to drain them after you're finished.
And save your juice, because then you'll put that in when you make up your soup from.
Yeah, because if you add the eggs to all those vegetables with all that liquid, it's gonna.
Well, that's just oil that's in there now. There's absolutely no liquid on mine.
I would
Yeah,
Counts as
water's got to
liquid.
go someplace. I mean, if it's
Okay.
evaporating.
Oil does count as liquid, yeah. So
I would drain it.
I have about 6 ounces of cheese.
that's
You can put up to 8 ounces. You can put as little as 4 ounces. It's kind of, you can't go wrong. I mean, cheese is delicious. Like I said, if you have leftovers, you're just gonna have to cook it up in a ramekin and make it quiche-less.
when I make tons of it, I tend to just pour the egg in the pan and then dump the cheese in the big pan and mix it when I make a lot of it.
Okay.
Because I don't have a bowl that's big enough.
Huh. Well, you can always use a pot, you know.
All right, so there we go. I put 8 ounces of mozzarella, and I could add some.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put my cooked vegetables in mine because it's cool. It's broccoli, spinach, mushroom, and mine's about a little more than 2 cups. But I'm kind of hoping to have some left over to make a quiche-less without bacon, because my daughter does not eat meat. Well, she eats a little chicken, but
Where did my parsley go?
The one thing when I make my mini quiches, I just do it in a what do you call it? A muffin tin.
oh,
I
that's
just take the fried veggies, put it in the muffin tin, and then ladle the eggs on top of that. And so basically I'm oiling it. The oil that I don't have to drain it because the oil is in the veggies.
So go ahead and preheat your oven to 375.
Oops, I preheated it to 400. Let me turn it down.
I cooked my bacon in the oven, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Oh
What
dear.
I tend to do is when I'm making the mini quiches, the crustless ones, I just get a little of the veggies and I put it in each one, and then I just, put the cheese and the egg right on top of it, and about half full.
So you didn't add any, like, any flour, so at this point, or in your egg dish, I would add a couple of tablespoons of like almond flour and a half or a quarter.
Or just regular flour for you, for me.
Yeah, but you can make it gluten-free and it will puff up better if you.
Okay. So you said flour, but you also, didn't you tell me you put baking powder or baking soda? Which one?
Baking powder. About a quarter of a teaspoon, not too much.
Okay, I got baking powder. So a couple tablespoons of flour and a quarter teaspoon of baking powder.
Yeah, that should do it. Now, if you used a lot more eggs, I would double that.
Yeah, mine's yours 4 eggs. Mine's 4 times as big, so I got 16 eggs.
This is really good bacon. I'm trying not to eat it as I put it in there. So I got the bacon originally for the Bloody Mary, because that's what they said. They said put a nice cooked strip of bacon down in your Bloody Mary.
So Lulu, are you drinking a Bloody Mary now?
I am, but because I was trying, the recipe I gave you guys on the on the website, I made it last night and I did not like it at all. I don't like that much Worcestershire. So it called for 2 teaspoons. It was just way overpowering flavor for me. The recipe I'll share with you is just a dash, which is plenty of Worcestershire. And then this recipe I tried today did not call for any horseradish, so I just added a scant amount, and that brightened it up. So, and I didn't use the celery salt in today's, and I like it a lot better. Oh, and I also went out and specifically bought tomato juice. I used V8 yesterday, and it didn't taste. It wasn't what I like as far as the Bloody Mary. I think it's real good tomato juice is much better.
Do you ever have what are they called? Bloody Caesars with tomato juice?
I would like to try that. I just was reading about that. I had never heard of it before. I think I would.
You have to like clams, I think. You have to like clamato juice.
Yeah, I would be up for trying it. In fact, one of my garnishments is kimchi. I just thread some kimchi.
Now to reiterate, you had said a quarter teaspoon of baking powder in your 4 egg one.
Yeah, so you're gonna double that.
Wow.
So about a half a teaspoon.
You just put that in if you're doing the crustless one, right?
Right. So I'm not going to put that in until I fill this one up.
I think I'm going to have
some
leftover and put in a ramekin. So
you would just add, you just kind of eyeball it, just a pinch, you know.
Yeah.
And you can use just regular flour. All right.
I think I'll use some gluten-free flour for my sister who's coming for breakfast tomorrow. She's got celiac disease, so
yeah.
Instead of scrambling her some eggs, I might give her this little ramekin.
That's the nice thing about quiches. I feel like it tastes better, you know, let it set for a little while.
Really?
You know, well, you know, you're gonna let it cool for at least, right?
Well, you'd like to have it hot, though.
Right.
You know.
Well, once this is baked, you got to let it rest for 10 minutes before you cook it or cut it. So I put almost 2 full cups of the my vegetables in there, and I'm mixing it really well now because I've got all the seasonings and the cheese. And then I will end up sprinkling some Parmesan cheese on the top at the end. Maybe to make it pretty, I'll slice up some cherry tomatoes and put it on top. Okay, so can you see I've got my, what you call it on the bottom? My bacon on the bottom. And now I'm probably gonna ladle this on because I don't want to disturb my bacon.
Hmm.
Probably could have used a little more egg with mine.
Oh, I forgot the flour.
All right, this is a really, well, I'm not used to having this large of a pie crust, so I will not be making a my hands are the best spatula. So with as much as I made, so I had 2 full cups and a cup and a half of cheese and 4 eggs. I mean, I have just the perfect amount, so I will not be making a crustless.
Maybe a little milk.
Yours already looks pretty, Lulu.
I'm gonna do something I've never done before. I'm gonna put some cherry tomatoes on top just for color and happiness. And I may reject it. And that's the thing when you cook, you try things, you see if you like it. If you don't like it, you don't do it again. It's a good idea to take notes about what you do. Like, this really worked, or I really loved it. So many times I'll put a date, like I write in my cookbooks, I'll put a date when I did it. I won't remember making it. And it's like, I wish I would have wrote whether I liked it or not.
Yeah. All right. I do have a lot of tomatoes.
Okay. Parmesan.
How thick do you put the eggs?
What do you mean, how thick?
Like I'm in these bacon pans.
I mean, you kind of want them swimming in it. You know, I probably in my quiche could have used a little more egg and milk. Okay, so now I've got my tomatoes on there and I'm just gonna sprinkle some Parmesan cheese on top. Oh, I'm getting excited.
So my main thing is I had a bunch of parboiled carrots here that,
Oh, there you go.
so that's, so I cooked all those other vegetables, but my main vegetable putting in here is these parboiled carrots. But because it's sweet, the carrots tend to be kind of sweet. I put a little extra of that rosemary to try to offset the sweetness of the carrots.
Yeah.
And then I'll put a bunch of cheese on top.
Because I don't want my crust cooking anymore, I'm just gonna put a little aluminum foil over where it's cooked.
I'm trying to think of if there's any vegetable that you just wouldn't want to put in it.
Like I said, tomatoes, the only thing, because they're so wet, and I went ahead and put it on mine, so.
So do you think I was going to put a layer of cheddar cheese on it? Do you think I should put the cheddar cheese and then tomatoes on top, or the tomatoes and then the cheddar cheese?
I put my tomatoes on the bottom and then put the cheese on top, but yeah, I think it could go. Yeah, I would. It's kind of like pizzas. You know how sometimes they put some pizzas, they put the cheese on top, others they put the toppings on top of the cheese.
Right. I just thought if the tomatoes were on the top, more moisture would disperse versus under the cheese.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite things when I use cherry tomatoes, I'll throw them in at the very last in a soup. I call them cherry bombs. And they don't need to cook more than, I don't know, 8 minutes or so. You just want to warm them. And you got to be careful because they're always hotter than the rest of the soup. But they make cherry tomatoes make a nice pop of flavor. And they have a tendency to disintegrate. Because this pie crust is so flat, it's not, I'm having a hard time making this grip it. It might be that my pie crust just burns on that edge.
I'm getting hungry and we haven't, I better get this. I actually should have put some of these. The nice thing I like about the little quiches in the baking, in the egg muffin things, they cook so quick.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put mine in the oven. Now, I oftentimes put a pan. If you think it's gonna overflow, I put it on a pan.
What do you think, Lulu? Like 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Mine is smaller than yours.
Well, the test that you're gonna do is, the knife in the center and it has to come out clean. So, I would think even still, you're gonna have a minimum of 30 minutes, I would think.
Okay.
But somewhere around maybe 25, you can kind of shake it a little bit and it should be solid, and then do the test. So,
Yeah.
All right.
we're just getting it in there. This is gonna be a longer show.
Well, we're gonna make a drink now.
I should clean up my mess.
This is a 2-recipe cooking show. So
I'm boring. I'm just having tea.
I only have I think I have enough for just 1 can, but I can. All right.
Did you put yours in yet, or because you gotta set your timer, remember?
Oh yeah. Clean as I go here. Yeah, I've got these. I thought I'd fill those up, but All right, so we're gonna make a drink.
Yep.
I have my own canned tomato sauce. That's pretty flavorful.
It's homemade.
Oh yeah. About the only two things I can like a lot of is green beans and tomatoes. So
I gotta go because I have to start up my other thing at 5 o'clock. So,
thanks, Fred.
yeah, thank you. I'll see you over there. Hopefully tonight is about Cuban food stories. You've seen it, but it's a really great show.
What is it?
It's called Cuban Food Stories. It's really this guy's a documentary filmmaker and a cook, and he goes out into the rural areas of Cuba and shows how the local people cook.
Oh, fun.
It's very interesting.
Is it subtitles or is it in English?
It's got subtitles when it's not in English. Yeah. So I
It's
gotta
fun.
go get ready.
Bye.
Okay,
See
so-
you there.
All right,
Okay, bye-bye.
so for this drink, where's my glass? Here it is. I've got
You're gonna
tomato juice, lemon juice, vodka. I forgot what else.
Worcestershire. Worcestershire.
They said the two hardest things to say in the English language is Worcestershire and I'm sorry.
Also just a scant amount of prepared horseradish.
I think you're supposed to just say Worcester sauce. That's what the British say, but I mean,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
there's an American pronunciation. Because I saw some joke about the booster shot and the Worcester sauce and have it the booster shot spelled like Worcestershire.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it. Worcester. It is, and it's a very strong flavor. I make the SOS where it's hard-boiled eggs in a cream sauce on toast.
Oh,
You just sprinkle a little bit of Worcester on it. It's really
You're
good.
being nice calling it
never had
SOS,
that.
right?
what does SOS stand for?
Shit on a shingle.
Shit on a shingle.
It's-
Hard-boiled
it's-
eggs in a cream sauce.
Uh-huh.
It's basically like a really runny gravy on toast, right?
Yeah, it's the recipe I have is it's basically just a white sauce, a bechamel kind of thing.
Ah,
Oh, I got
is that a St. Louis thing or a
No,
Southern
that's an
thing?
army. That's from the
That's Army.
armed forces.
Army. Oh,
That's when they basically they just they had flour and the
hard-boiled eggs and the shingle is toast.
You make a roux,
Uh-huh.
butter and flour, cook it up. You can even brown the butter if you want, and then add your milk, whip it up, chop your hard-boiled eggs, throw it in.
Uh-huh.
The finishing touch is just a sprinkle of the Worcestershire on the
Oh.
top. It's delicious.
Mm.
I need my little measuring thingy.
measuring thingy.
Yeah, I
This
have
is
my
all
little. This has milliliters, ounces, tablespoons, and teaspoons.
So you don't just like randomly throw things in a cup.
No. So my recipe is 4 ounces of tomato juice, which I could use something a little bigger for the 4 ounces. Let's see. All right, so this is 2 ounces, so I'll do 2 of these. 1, 2. So 4 ounces of the tomato juice, and then 2 ounces of vodka.
Oh, this tomato juice is so good.
You need to brown it with.
When I can my tomato sauce, I cook it overnight and then I take off the tomato juice and can the juice separately.
Oh,
And so I end up with probably as many jars of juice as I do of sauce.
oh,
And that's how I thicken it.
How do you cook it overnight without burning it?
I just put on the
Tomatoes
lowest setting and let it
Yeah.
slow simmer.
Mhm.
And then I get a stick blender and go, well,
Mm.
I scoop the juice out. If I get a bushel of tomatoes or a big box, I usually end up with like a gallon and a half of juice.
And do you get all the seeds out and everything?
No seeds, skin, none of that.
Okay, so you got your 4
But
ounces, of,
organic.
4 ounces
4
of,
ounces.
4 ounces of tomato juice, 2 ounces of vodka, half an ounce of lemon juice. And I have Myers lemons, so they're so delicious. So a half an ounce.
I do have a lemon, but I
So you
also
want a
just I
half
could be
an
lazy.
ounce of lemon.
If I spill too much vodka in here, that's the problem.
I don't care for things really strong alcohol flavor, so
So you said 2, right?
2 ounces, yeah. A quarter teaspoon of black pepper.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that is a lot. And a quarter teaspoon of cumin powder. That seems like a lot, but
Where's my cumin? Cumin. I have cumin seeds that I might grind up. Here it is, ground cumin. Oh wait, go back.
quarter
You said
teaspoon.
quarter teaspoon of black pepper.
Yep.
Can you grind cumin seeds in a coffee grinder if you?
That's how I do. I have a mini coffee grinder.
Uh-huh.
And so I tend to buy all my spices. Like if you go here, I've got coriander, cumin, black peppers, chili peppers, lemongrass. What else? Cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg.
I've got
Those
all
are all
these
whole.
spices and I don't know exactly what they are, but the cumin seeds are labeled. And I thought I might try grinding it.
I mean, basically anything you put cilantro in, it's cumin seeds is
Mhm.
cilantro seeds.
Mhm.
Oh, I didn't put the cumin in yet. How much was it? Do you remember which? So quarter teaspoon of black pepper and a quarter teaspoon of cumin.
Correct.
All right.
And a pinch of salt.
Mhm.
2 dashes of Worcestershire.
But you said
No, 2 dashes, not 2 teaspoons. The other recipe last night was way too much. Now, and then 2 dashes of hot sauce if you like it. I'm using sriracha. You could use Cholula, you could use Tabasco. I'm just gonna give it a little squirt. I probably put a quarter teaspoon. And
well, I have a choice of this gallon of Rooster sauce
yeah, I would just,
or this, sriracha.
yeah. I put sriracha, I put about a quarter teaspoon, but I'm okay with it a little spicy.
There's a lot of flavor to this.
Oh, and then the recipe last night had the horseradish in it. This recipe did not, but I'm throwing just like an eighth of it, just a little bit, just of horseradish. And then I'm going to stir this up.
All right, I only put half the tomato in. Now I'm going to add the other half.
It smells really good. And then
I just looked up the Bloody Caesar because I thought it was invented in Calgary, Alberta. And there's a New York Times article saying that it was invented there. But clam and tomato juice has been used other places too.
So I was actually surprised. I just tasted it with all those spices, and it's not very spicy.
no, and you
It has a lot of flavor to it, but not really spicy.
So then I just filled the glass up, the rest with ice. And now I'm gonna garnish.
Oh, you're gonna put like a whole salad in it, huh?
Well, I love kimchi, so that's why I think this kimchi would be good with the clamato, because kimchi is very fishy flavor. It's got a very strong fish flavor. So,
Let me just add some cheese.
and then I'm gonna put one of these in there. This is my celery. I'll throw a carrot stick in there.
What do you call it? Our local Bloody Mary place, they put like a whole meal on it.
Oh, I know. When I discovered the kimchi, I was like, oh, this is so good.
Kimchi, huh?
Well,
Yeah.
it's pretty healthy except for the vodka.
Hey,
Little vodka won't.
vodka's healthy. It's good for your spirits.
Uh-huh, yeah.
Well, I mean, the vodka is like one of the least ingredients. I mean, there's only like 2 ounces in a.
In this huge thing. Oh, and it also calls for a stick of bacon.
Bacon, wow.
And then I like pimento stuffed green olives.
Just like it's a whole meal.
Ta-da!
Take a picture of that.
All right.
It's like,
If I
because that's
would-
pretty. So I don't know. So we've got a few minutes. All right, I need another baking pan here.
All right, here we go. I got me in the background. Hey, or look at the camera. I'll get you in the background.
I mean, change my, oops. Like that.
Okay, look. All right, I'll send you that.
Oh, wait, here, I have my drink. Want me to
Oh
do
yeah,
that?
have your drink. All right.
That's good. Mine's not as pretty.
Woo!
It's got a lot of flavor to it. And it's interesting how all that flavor actually makes the tomato juice less intense. Because tomato juice itself is very strong. So
Oh, it's delicious.
so I'm just making my mini. So how I do it is I just mix all the stuff together just for, unless if I fry the vegetables, I'll put the fried vegetables because then it's oiled on the bottom. But now I used up all the vegetables in my first one. So now I don't have any fried vegetables. And so this one is just using up the last of the egg. And so, all right, do you have
It's really good.
any final things here? We can pause the video and then do the magic like the cooking shows where
Oh,
You're
and
like,
then you'll
here, just put it in the oven and it came right back out.
yeah, because
It's
mine's
like-
probably gonna have to cook at least probably 45 to 50 minutes. I don't know. We'll see.
Because I made mine really thick too. Like what I not like about these little quiches is especially if your vegetables are already cooked,
Right?
you can sometimes do them in like 15-16 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, because in this case these carrots are still a little cold because I took them out of the freezer. So it'll take a little longer. Although by the time the one that's in the oven is done, these will probably no longer be. Actually, I tend to fill them up too much.
And then don't forget, you might want to put a little thing of like a slice of tomato on top with the cheese or.
Yeah, so this one has both mozzarella and cheddar in it. And so
Now,
But
when
yeah,
it,
one of the mistakes I always used to make is I overfill these.
right,
And especially in the case of yours, you have that baking powder in it. And so it'll fluff up even more. So
Well, yours has baking powder, doesn't it, or?
normally when I make it, I don't.
Oh.
So normally, like if I want it to be here, if I want to make it just basically one of these, originally I read where they would basically you just put any type of stuff on the bottom and you just crack a whole egg on the top.
oh, okay.
That's original recipe. But I was just like, I find out if I whip it, I use about a half an egg then in each one. And then I can, and add a little dairy or a little water to it and it fluffs it up more. But I have never tried the baking powder like you just did. So I think that'll be much
And
more
you'll notice when you eat it, it's going to be a little kind of cakier because of the flour and the baking powder, as opposed to real custardy or quiche.
Kind of like a souffle or something.
That's exactly. It's a souffle.
I tend to always did a lot of vegetables in it anyway. It was just like, less eggs, less cheese, more vegetables is how I always liked it. And I would, I don't know, make how are there's a dozen in a muffin pan. So I'd make 2 muffin pans. It's a full oven. And then I'd freeze them and I'd take them to work. And what do you call it? When I was in a hurry to get to work, it would be in the freezer at work. And so I could, get to work for an hour or two, and then take a mid-morning break and have, a little breakfast.
Would you nuke them in the microwave?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, I don't have a microwave at home. So at home, I would take them out. You'd have to remember to take them out the night before. And then I would just fry them in a little butter or oil, and that's not as good for you. But or I would make a little thing of rice soup, and then just drop it in there in the rice soup.
Oh, that sounds good.
Like, what do they call it? Kanji? I think they're like for breakfast. There's a lot of different cultures who eat rice soup.
Yeah.
And the rice itself has very little flavor. Maybe you'd have a broth that you cook the rice in, but really it's what you eat it with. You might eat it with a little sausage or fried this or shrimp or, whatever. So each bite you take of the rice has a hard-boiled egg or.
That's really cultural fusion with a French quiche in a Chinese congee.
So
I was thinking about when you were talking about using coconut milk in it instead of regular milk with the egg. And then I started thinking along the lines of a more Asian flavor of either ginger, with, broccoli, onion, having it have a more.
I mean, think of your favorite, Chinese stir fry, and then just put that in there and pour some eggs on top of it.
Right.
Right. I mean,
you could use, that hot pepper sauce in it. What is it called? Like a curry sauce, I guess.
Chili garlic sauce.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's one flavor. You put garlic in yours. That's one flavor I've not ever put in my quiche is garlic. And I don't know why. I think I go way more onion, personally, with flavor for a quiche.
Yeah, that's where I was asking you where you could put like what raw stuff, because I would tend to, when I use garlic, I tend to put garlic at the beginning and it's completely caramelized, and then also put a little fresh garlic right at the end
for the hot,
to actually get the garlic taste.
Yeah,
that's my tend to when I'm cooking, because I don't know, I grew up doing it Italian style like that. So
yeah.
that sounds delicious. you tend to put the garlic at the end, so you actually get the flavor. You know, so.
I have a great peanut sauce that it's no cook, similar to what we had, who was it that made the spring rolls?
Oh, yeah, the lady from Taiwan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I have a similar, but it's no cook, so it's peanut butter, a little chicken broth, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, and it has vinegar in it, but it is so good. I could eat it with a spoon. And when the cookbook that I got the recipe out of, the woman goes, "I'm a sensible woman, but I could eat with this with a spoon." And sure enough, I found myself just, dipping the spoon in there and just eating it because it's so good. And it doesn't matter what you put it on.
I tend to not like peanut butter. Well, a lot of
Yeah.
people do, but those peanut sauces I really like.
Yeah.
Where you like make it and it tends to be the base and not really the flavor.
There
The
are.
problem with quiche is right now I'm hungry.
I am too. It was so good going in.
Now, however, if we made it really thin, you can make a thin one for yourself right away.
Mhm.
The 15-minute one, instead of making, like I made it in a baking pan, so I'm basically baking an egg cake, right? So mine is.
And you did not
pretty
put any phyllo dough on top because you actually could encase the whole thing. But that's getting to be the broccoli spinach pie that, and I have.
I tend to not be a very good baker, and so I tend to not put stuff on the top because I want the moisture to escape.
Mm.
But like you said, if you do it right and you get the moisture out, then you can make more of a pie or something. So what do you think? We'll pause the recording and then
And then
pull
when
it
I
out of
pull
the
it
oven.
out, we can start it up again. That's
All right.
all right. So
Taking stuff out of the oven. How long later is this? This is like 45 minutes later, right?
For me, it's about 50 minutes later because I had a big quiche. So here it comes. It smells really good.
So let me get mine out too. Yeah. Well, I'll let you get yours out first.
Oh, you didn't do the quiche before, you're doing now?
Oh, we cooked it, but then we had to put it in the oven for 45 minutes. So.
All right.
Let's see. There's mine.
Oh, you did like a pie?
Wow.
All righty. I gotta take this aluminum foil off.
You take a picture.
Can you see it?
Pretty. Oh, like with those half tomatoes on there, that makes it look really cool, huh?
It smells so good. So I have to wait before I can cut it. I gotta wait 10 minutes. Otherwise, and what you want to do, let me just.
Oh, look at that. You've got yourself a cooling rack even.
Yeah, because I couldn't set this down. But,
See, I mean, mine fluffed up probably a good inch. Because
so
it was
you
not
might,
that full.
or you might want to throw yours in to
I
brown.
will.
Brown.
The one who was on the top is really well. I didn't check the bottom one. But
Okay.
that one's got a little wobble to it, so I'm gonna put it back in.
Yeah, and it's getting the brown. And when you check yours, let me see if I can lift this up again. So part of the checking on this is just shaking it. And so there's no jiggle to it. And then when I stuck a knife in it or a toothpick, it came out clean, similar to what you do with a cake. So,
All right.
But oh my gosh, it smells so good. I can't wait to cut it.
All right. Any last tidbits before we wrap up?
Maybe I'll cut it before you you turn it off. Let me,
Just like, it's all right. She is. So what flavor again did you put in here? I know you said feta cheese, right?
so mine I did Swiss.
Okay, so you did Swiss, bacon, I forgot what else.
Broccoli, mushroom,
Onion.
onion, well, scallions. Yeah, I'm gonna wait a minute. I'm not gonna
Okay.
cut it. I can feel it needs 10 minutes to cool and get solid. But
All right.
thank
It's
you
like-
for joining me. I had fun.
Yes, thank you.
Oh.
It was very good. I had a piece and a half.
There you go. And it's great leftovers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll see you at the movies.
All righty.
If you're going to Chile.
Bye.
Oh, Cuban food.